Do you consider some of the habits in your life to be not particularly healthy? Maybe there are some at present you're trying to drop and discovering just how difficult that is to do. They're amazingly important. Obviously, they can fundamentally change our sense of well-being and our general mood. And obviously, it's really important to try and avoid unhealthy habits. In this video, though, I'm going to give you some really straightforward tips that you can use that can elevate your sense of well-being, your sense of value, and your general level of happiness. So number one is gratitude. How grateful are you for the life that you have? We live in a culture where we are consistently bombarded with the notion that we are not quite good enough, or we need to buy this product, or do this thing, or have this person, or have this car, or whatever it might be. And I think it perpetuates this notion or this sense in ourselves of lack. But it's so important to stop now and again and to really think about how lucky you are just to be alive. So every evening, I spend literally maybe a minute or two considering what today that I'm grateful for, even if it hasn't been a particularly fabulous day. There can be one or two things, whether it was the connection you made with the person who made your coffee this morning, or the amazing walk you went on, or the fabulous book you're reading, or just sitting quietly by a fire. It can be anything. And just to recall that moment will really help with that feeling that although things might not be perfect, life never is, there are things that we can truly be grateful for. Number two is pay a compliment. It's a lovely thing to do. To just thank someone for being in your life or thank someone for being kind. It's a really lovely way of paying forward that feeling of gratitude in yourself, paying it forward to someone else. A lovely thing to do. Not only that, it gets you out of your head, connects you with the world, and probably more importantly, it connects you with other people, which is such a fundamental part of being a happy, balanced human being. My third tip is go with the flow. There will be moments in your life where you completely find yourself absorbed in what you're doing, whether it's drinking a cup of coffee, going for a run, looking at a gorgeous view, sitting by an open fire. It doesn't matter what it is. And I would strongly advise you to find something that really encourages and enhances that feeling of just being absorbed with what you're doing. So the thinking about my issues and my problems miraculously falls away. It can be hanging out with a friend. That's a nice thing to do, or maybe following a sport, in getting involved in a sport, something of that description too. But something, and it doesn't have to be for long periods of time, but just moments. I call them droplets, where you find yourself completely absorbed in what you're doing. Number four really follows on from three, which is to savor the moment. So it can just be that quiet moment when you're in your favorite coffee shop and you actually taste the coffee that you're drinking, that you really, excuse the pun, but you really drink in that experience. So what you'll find, if you become absorbed in what you're doing, if you find something where you're really, really savoring that moment, you'll find your thinking stops or slows down. It doesn't stop, it never stops, but it slows down, or the volume goes down, and you find that you really are with the sensuality of that moment rather than your thinking and your running commentary about that moment. Again, very, very simple, tiny, tiny steps. It doesn't have to be some enormous dramatic moment of awakening. It can be something very, very simple, like going for a walk, or looking at a view, or reading a book, something where you're no longer caught in your own running commentary. Number five, I guess it's an easy one, as in it's an obvious one, is to exercise. During the pandemic, I stopped exercising. I used to do a lot of weightlifting and I used to do a lot of running, and I just stopped all of it and didn't really do anything until the beginning of 2025. And I started with really tiny incremental steps back into those habits. So to begin with, I'd get up every morning, and before I touched my phone or made a coffee, I would go for a 1 minute run. And when I say run, it wasn't really a run, it was more like staggering along and wheezing. But I got my body moving. I remember years ago working with a personal trainer, and he used to say to me, just move. It doesn't matter what you do. To begin with, just move your body. So if you're not used to exercise, don't worry. You don't have to be an Olympic athlete to do some exercise. It can be something as simple as stretching or going for a small walk first thing in the morning before you do anything else. It clears your mind, it gets you into the feeling of your body. It also pumps the chemicals around your body into your brain, which gives you a sense of happiness and well being. So, exercise is a really, really great habit to get into. And like I said, it does not have to be Olympic level or 40 minutes of running around a track. It could be something very, very simple. It could be yoga, but something where you're just moving your body. Number 6 is get some sleep. 7 to 8 hours a night is pretty normal. That's really what we should be aiming for, and trying to be in bed before midnight. I was a night owl. I've always been a night owl until quite recently, the last few years, as I'm getting older. I'm just not interested in staying up late. I used to love staying up late and hanging out with friends and listening to music. But now, these days, I find I'm in bed relatively early, and I get at least 7 hours a night as often as I can. Sleep deprivation is a terrible thing. I think I spent years really suffering from sleep deprivation. It not only does it kill brain cells, but it also encourages depression and a lack of motivation in your life. So getting into the habit of going to bed at a relatively early time every night. For me, it's 11. That sounds quite late, but trust me, I used to be 2, 3 in the morning. So for me, getting in bed around about 11 and getting 7 hours in, it makes a massive difference. And I wake up feeling refreshed. I don't wake up feeling groggy and ill. Number 7, eat well. This is an obvious one. Everyone's talking about this and has been for a very long time. But wow, what a difference it makes. I spend a lot of time traveling around the world, and I also find myself eating a lot of junk food, a lot of fried food. It doesn't make me feel good, and nutritionally, it's absolutely hopeless. So, getting into the habit of taking food with you or eating fresh fruit and nuts rather than that chocolate bar, or buying a salad if you can rather than buying that burger, man, it totally changes how you feel about yourself. It totally changes your body chemistry. So, eating clean, I like to call it. Now and again, having a burger or a bag of chips is fair enough. But in general, eating in a clean way makes a huge difference. And obviously, eating is incredibly habitual. So we get into these patterns of behavior where we have to have that enormous chocolate cookie with our coffee because we deserve it. And actually, you don't need it. It's just become an unhealthy habit. And you can swap that rather than the cookie, get a banana. And I drink gallons of water, which I think really helps hydrating. I did speak to a colleague of mine who's a doctor, and she said there's some very interesting research that most people who are eating, actually, they're not hungry, they're dehydrated. And our brain tricks us into thinking we're hungry when actually we're not. We just need a glass of water. This is a very important one. Number 8, find a goal. The world is a mystery, and there are a million different options in terms of what the meaning is, why we're here, and our purpose. But fundamentally, what's important is that you find something that works for you. So you find something that you can fall in love with. You find a passion. It could be anything from learning how to paint, or learning how to become a yoga instructor, or it doesn't really matter, learning how to write. It doesn't matter, but you find something that you really love. For me, I love music. I'm absolutely passionate about music. And so for me, that's an important part of my life. I love listening to music and vinyl in particular. So finding something that you can love and that gives you a sense of meaning and purpose in your life will make a fundamental difference to your well-being. It's a really good habit, and to start with really small steps. You don't have to dive straight in. You can experiment with what works for you and gives you that sense of well-being and joy. Like I said, it could be listening to vinyl, it could be going for a walk, it could be getting into rock climbing, it could be flower arranging. It doesn't matter, but just something that gives you a purpose. Number 9, get out in nature. This made a huge difference in my life, to just go outside and go and look and walk in nature. There's endless studies that have been done that show that being in nature suppresses feelings of depression and also feelings of anxiety. Just being, even if you're just sitting in it in a park, there are studies that have been done that show walking down through a city centre doesn't have the same impact on the body and the brain, but being out in the wilderness or in a green park, something like that, really, really helps. And it's a really great habit to get into. And I do it every day. Every day I make sure that I step out of my office or out of the house and into nature just for half an hour. So there you are. Those are my 9 tips. Do you have any of those already embedded in your life? Are they already habits in your life? And if not, are there ones that you've heard today that you think, oh, I'd quite like to try that? Either way, let me know in the comments below. I'm more than happy to respond. I'd love to hear from you. And please don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next week.